Get ready to get inspired. This is the Go4TheGoldy Podcast.
Good evening. Welcome to episode 41 of the Go4TheGoldy Podcast. Today's a very special one because it's my last show from the original studio I started it all with. So my guest today is also very special. She's a two-time Olympic trials marathon competitor, a mom, wife, coach, full-time finance professional, or as she likes to put it, a master's marathon mama on a mission. And joining me from outside Chicago, Illinois, it's Kate Deprosperis. Kate.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this one because I think originally when I was looking for guests, again, people are sick of hearing this, but guys, I'm sorry, yet another member of the On Run crew. It's a lot of interesting people in there, all right? So,
we have a very diverse group, so it's great to hear everyone's stories.
Yeah, we really do. And I could just honestly take guests from that group the rest of the time.
You can. You can.
But for you, I mean, I reached out originally a while ago, or, I put it in the group and you responded, and you're like, I have a pretty crazy story to tell. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it seems like you have a lot going on, obviously. So why don't we just get started with a brief, obviously I gave a laundry list of things here that you told me, but why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I am, as you said, a mom of two little boys. Kind of came to running at a young age. Didn't make the volleyball team, didn't make the basketball team like everyone tries to do in grade school. And track was non-cut. So I have a twin sister. Her and I were both kind of in the same situation and kind of came to running because we did not make those sports in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, junior high, and joined the track team. Realized that we had a little bit of a knack for the longer distance because no one wanted to do the mile. At those ages, no one really wants to do that. We were thrown into it. Kind of had some success at a young age, did, halfway decent in high school. I ran a few years in college, and I feel like the marathon is kind of a rite of passage that every, college competitor wants to do. It's like the, bucket list. Mm-hmm. And I ran at the University of Notre Dame, track and cross country, and decided to leave the team. I was just a walk-on for them. Decided to leave the team the beginning of my junior year. There was kind of a toxic environment there with some eating disorder problems and just kind of some animosity amongst teammates and coaching. And so it just wasn't all that much of a positive experience for me. So
especially if you're in college, I mean, that's like you got so much going on outside of the sport. You don't need that extra nonsense.
No. Yeah. I remember eating. Like my one story I tell people is, we all ate dinner together after practice, and I went and took a cookie, from the cafeteria, and they had them on my plate. And one of my teammates said, "Are you going to eat those?" Yeah, I'm going to eat those.
Yeah.
So there were just these moments that just didn't feel quite right. And so listening kind of to my heart, it was like, you know what, if this isn't serving me in a positive way, I wanted to move on. And so moving on to me was just trying the marathon, and I wasn't good. I was not good at all, but at that age, it was just about getting to the finish line and completing my first one. And so I did that in college.
Now, let me ask you real quick. When you were in college competing track and cross country, what were the distances? I guess what was like the longest?
And I did short distance too. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's funny. Short for middle distance. I would say 800, 1,000 indoors. At the time, cross was 5K. Between 2.5 and 5K. But I was always doing the short stuff in track. And so it was a little bit of a change to move up in distance.
Half mile, 26 miles. Yeah, a little bit of a difference.
Same difference. But I think what I learned was just that the marathon just took a lot of mental strength, hard work. And I started to see some improvements after I graduated. I joined a local running group, the Chicago Area Runners Association, which is CARA here in Chicago. And they have a wonderful program that they do for like beginning runners. And I met actually some of my, best lifelong friends through that first encounter with the training program. And I ran a couple seasons with them, kind of lowering my first marathon. So my first marathon, I ran 3:48, just missed the Boston qualifier at the time of 3:40. And so that was my next goal, was Boston qualifier. And so got that on the second one. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could do something with this if I got a coach. So my twin sister was actually coaching herself at a high school in the northern suburbs, and heard through a friend of hers that we have an Olympian in Illinois, and her name is Jenny Spangler. And she coaches adults in the northern suburbs. And it was like, me being a track geek, I knew of Jenny Spangler because she won the trials in 1996 in the marathon. And I was like, she would never coach us. Like, there's no way we'd ever, be able to train with her.
Yeah, right. Who am I? Why would she want to?
Yes, I'm like, I'm a nobody. All the people she must train are, super fantastic. So she ended up we went for coffee with her, and I was just like awestruck at how humble and just willing to work with us, both of us. And from there, it's kind of history. She took us under her wing. That was already, like 12 years ago, I've been working with her. And every marathon since then, I've improved, and she's the one who kind of put it in my head to go for the trials once I kind of got closer to 3 hours. And then I had a breakthrough of going from the 3:04 to 2:51.
Wow.
Kind of a big time drop. So there she's like, okay, you got to go for it.
Yeah. When you're that close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like my story is really a testament to kind of just chipping away at it.
And just for those listening, I just want to jump in here too. For those listening, like a lot, I have so many people from so many different backgrounds that some people just like to listen to this and draw inspiration from cool stories, but they don't understand. So for you, like, let's put it in context here. So, like, I
dropped over an hour from my time.
That's ridiculous. And like a 3-hour marathon is what, like a 7-minute mile somewhere?
No, it's 6:52.
6:52.
6:52.
Yeah.
6:52. So I started, my first marathon was 3:48. So that's like 8 something pace. So I dropped over, 2 minutes per mile. My best time is like a 6:11 pace.
Wow.
So I mean, I really, I when I think about it now, I'm like, how did I do that? Because I'm a little out of shape right now. But I feel like a lot of it was just believing in myself, believing in the training, finding a group. The power of the group is hands down the reason that I've had success. Finding a coach and finding a group. I have, the team that I train with is Jenny Spangler Racing. They are an amazing group of mostly men, a few of us women, who every week meet for speed work and every week meet for long distance, the long run. And I just would latch on to the 3 or 4 guys that ran my pace, and they had my back and really always were there for me to help me with support and pacing. And so I owe everything to kind of, her coaching, her guidance, the strength of the team and their positive encouragement.
That's so cool. Yeah, I used to work at a run specialty store, and I was the training and outreach coordinator for that store. And just like you're saying, I saw firsthand the long runs on Saturdays in our marathon training programs. Like, people were so proud to be a part of that 9:30 pace group or like the 10:30, and those people, just from start to finish of the experience of like doing their first marathon from, maybe not having ever run 26 miles to doing, race day, and the bonds that are created, from that. There's just so many ancillary things, I think, to pushing yourself to limits that you didn't think were possible that bleed over to different aspects of your life as well. And,
totally.
Like I noticed you mentioned like full-time finance professional too. And I'm sure like what you do there, there's a lot of discipline and, regimen that you apply to your job that are very similar in what you do in your day-to-day with your training too. And that really was like the point of this whole ecosystem that I'm trying to create here, or I'm creating, is I just, there's so many different ways to like I just see so many people just stuck in a rut and miserable, and it's hard to see the forest through the trees sometimes, So I think a lot of people, really, I just want to have cool people like you on with inspirational stories like that. I mean, obviously we have a long way to go here, but just out of the gate, I mean, that is a really cool progression, to hear, because a lot of people, and think about it, a lot of people might have just said right off the bat, in college, I had a terrible experience with running. I'm not going to be a professional runner at that point. You probably didn't think that you were going to do really anything. Oh, I never thought I'd even,
Yeah. No.
And imagine if you just quit. Imagine if you just left Notre Dame and you're like, you know what, running's not for me. This sucks. I'm out of here. And then you just never did anything again.
Right.
Think about all the opportunities,
so many people like that, where
Yeah.
I look back at girls that I knew in high school or ran with in high school or even college for that matter that had talent tenfold more than I do. And I'm like, what did they do with their talent or aspirations? They, nothing.
Yeah.
It didn't bring them anywhere. And of course, everyone's life experiences are different. But I feel like I've taken kind of a mediocre talent, I would say, maybe a slightly above average talent, and really kind of amped it up and done the best that I could with it.
No, that's incredible.
More than what I thought.
So it reminds me of a quote that I really like. I'm a big fan of quotes and stuff like that.
Oh, then you're gonna like my desk here. I got all my quotes. I got all my quotes.
Oh, what's the saying? Life begins at the end. See, that's what I love. Yeah.
Life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Yep,
right?
I love that one. And I have one on my fridge that says it's never too late to be what you were supposed to be, or something like that.
Yeah.
But what you were just talking about reminds me of the quote, hard work beats talent, 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And your story just kind of reminds me a lot like that. But what was I going to – oh, so actually this is something that I really never come prepared with, like, questions, because I just want this to be like a free-flowing, get-to-know each other kind of thing, share your story. But I actually had someone reach out to me yesterday that really struck me, because – it was interesting, because you have, when you do stuff like this, you don't realize who's watching or who cares, right? And he asked me a question, and I wanted to ask you this, because I, had to really think about this. But he asked me, he's having a hard time motivating he's looking to transform kind of his lifestyle. He knows he's, not in the best shape, or, he's maybe caught up in work or whatever it might be. But he asked me, how do you motivate? How do you push yourself through workouts that you don't really want to be in? What's the ultimate kind of driver for you to be maniacal in, your pursuit of whatever goals that you have? And that was a tough one for me to kind of like, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get back to you on that one, because I really, because there's always like, why? Well, I want to win a race. Well, that's not really the deep, you know what I mean? Like I think it goes much deeper than that. So, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you have a kind of like, answer or kind of thought on that?
I mean, I think I draw motivation from a lot of things. I think I've had, a little bit of, stutter steps in my training, or, injuries. I think about moments where I wasn't able to do what I love, run or compete or train. And so a lot of days or times when I don't feel like getting up at 5 a.m. to get to the gym before coming home to bring the kids to school to come back to work, get it all done. I think about how bad that felt, or those tears that I shed with not being able to either reach the goal or be able to train, or to have that setback. And I try to, think about those days. But whenever I have kind of a lack of motivation as well, I think about my kids in the sense of, if I'm taking time away from spending it with them, and a lot of times I'm, in my head, the mom guilt is there, but I try to do it early enough that like they're sleeping some of the time. I do most of my runs in the morning, but my husband is amazingly supportive and gets the kids going in the morning with, their stuff.
And what's his name?
But I think about, I'm sorry?
What's his name? What's your husband's name?
Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan. You're the real hero out there, Ryan.
He is. He's wonderful. So I get most of my runs done in the morning, and he gets, the kids up and changed and ready for school. And I kind of stroll in at 8, and he heads off to work, and I do the rounds to preschool and to the grade school. So, but I think about them and I think, if I have time away from them, that I need to make the most out of this moment. So in a workout when I'm feeling a lull, or, even just getting to the gym or getting to the meet, to the meet up with friends, it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'd rather just do an easy run. I think, well, I'm not there to do, kind of some of the mothering that goes on in the morning. I need to make the best of it because, they're missing out and I'm missing out. So if I'm choosing to do this, I need to do it to my best potential.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I agree. The question, that was a great answer. That was a tough question to just like throw at you, but it's not a black and white answer. And I don't think everyone has different motivations and different determining factors of what's really the power behind or the drive. And what you said too, I think is just such an important part of success, or at least just the process of moving forward, is relating with failure in a positive way. There's any successful person has failed more than any, regular person has even attempted. You know what I mean? Like if you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself to your limits. And if you're not pushing yourself to your limits, like that quote you just showed me, if you're not living outside your comfort zone, and you just don't know you just can't comprehend the limit to your personal potential. And I think so many people just artificially put a cap on what their potential is, whether it be athletics or their career even. Like imposter syndrome is a real thing for people, and I think that relationship with failure. But also I never really thought about it like you just said, but I love that idea too of like, running looks like it's a solo sport, right? Like when you just see the pictures of you at a marathon or something like that, it's just you running around. But there's so many people involved that are your support system as well, Yeah. And if Ryan wasn't helping you, that.
Totally. Well, I have an instance in a race where I ran my PR. I was having not a great day to start with. I was running with a teammate and we were both going for the same goal. And he was, feeling really good to start and really chatty. And I'm like, shut up. I overate a little bit. So my stomach was upset. And I was like, am I going to vomit? I'm not. Do I drop? But I was out in California and I had gone out there without my husband, without the kids, because my baby Josh was like not one yet, So it was like, we're not traveling with the whole entourage. It's easier for me just to go out there for 2 days and compete. So by mile, 14-ish, I was like, oh, am I going to drop? Do I drop? And all I kept thinking about was, them, and having to stop someone on the side of the road to call, either my husband or someone. I don't even know who I would do, how I would, get back to the finish line, but to call him and tell him that I dropped. And it was like that thought of like, I don't want to tell my kids that I quit because my stomach was hurting and I wasn't going to get the trials cut, or I wasn't going to, so, my stomach actually passed in the next few miles, and I ended up running like a huge negative split and got my PR. And I think about it a lot because I'm like, I got it out the first part that wasn't good. And then I focused on, well, damn, I don't want to call Rye and tell him, he was making this sacrifice to watch the kids for that, for those 2 days. I wasn't going to call him and be like, this was all for nothing.
I got a trip to California out of it. Thank you.
So that was a huge motivating factor for me. Not, I didn't want to have to make that call, to tell him. And lo and behold, when I turn, if you've ever been to CIM at all, like you make this last turn and you could see the clock, and I really kind of lost track of time there. I really didn't think I was as close to as I was. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to PR, so it was one of those odd out of body moments a bit. But, what got me through was thinking about my kids and thinking about calling my husband and feeling a sense of disappointment, or like I was letting someone down.
Yeah.
So, you take what you can for motivation, and that's what I had in that moment.
I love that. What a cool story. That sense of accomplishment is just something that I think that's what I'm addicted to is when you cross that finish line with a PR. And I mean, the couple times, so I've qualified for the age group triathlon.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That was just what, last month? Or?
Yeah, that was May 2nd was in Richmond to qualify for Bermuda in October. And just, like when you cross the finish line and my fiance is like tearing up because we made it, like that feeling is just like, wow, someone's so proud of me. Like, that's so cool, and I don't want to let her down because she, no offense to anyone who lives in Richmond, but I really had no interest in like taking a vacation to Richmond, right? Like,
no,
it's not like the beach or something. But she came out and she, triathlon is not like marathon where you just show up in your running clothes. Like I got all kinds of equipment. I got the damn bike, and
it's a spectacle. Yeah,
it is, and she supports me every step of the way. And it's just like you're saying though. I didn't want the trip to be for naught, and multiple. I've done it a couple of times, but like. It's what you're saying.
Did you have like a moment in the middle where it wasn't going well, or did it all click?
Yeah, I suck at swimming.
Me too. This is why I would never do a triathlon.
Yeah. So like you, I didn't swim in college, but I was the captain of my swim team in high school.
Oh gosh. So then you're golden.
But I was a sprinter. I did like 50s and 100s. I didn't swim a half mile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Big difference.
It's a huge difference. Yeah. And on top of that, you're not in the lanes. You're pushing each other. And
that's why I would never do it.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. It definitely is. So like halfway through the swim and a half mile to like an Ironman or something like that doesn't seem like a lot, but you're pushing it. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of pace. You're just going as hard as you can. And the water was really cold because it was May and it hadn't been warm there. And you jump in and your breath kind of gets caught or not taken away, but you know what I mean? And I don't know. I just halfway through the swim, I was like kind of disoriented, to be honest with you. But I'm like, I'm not going to stop swimming. Like we come all this way and then 3 minutes in, I just quit. You know what I mean? But it's the same kind of thing. But I was going to ask you about like the Olympic trials. Like what's the process like? Like where? Because I mean, start wherever you want. But I just find it so fascinating that you went from, doing short distance type stuff in college and. Leaving college in your junior year to all of a sudden a couple years, I don't know the timeline, but like,
Yeah. So let's see. So I done quite a few marathons before qualifying. I think I was probably at like 10-ish marathons, but I very much paced myself. I'm not one of these that does like 2 or 3 a year. Like you're not going to get the maximum performance if you do that. And at the beginning, I felt like I didn't have as much strength. I was young legs, 20s, and you're just still trying to figure out the endurance sport, the endurance side to it. So I was making a lot of those progress through my 20s. And then I actually got my first qualifier. It was 2011. It was the last chance qualifier. CIM was the last. CIM is California International Marathon. It was the last day that you can qualify before the trials. It was like 40 days out from the 2012 trials. So the trials in 2012 were early January, like 20th of January. So you couldn't qualify. You could only qualify a certain day period ahead of time. I had tried for 2 years to qualify and just had 2 Chicagos I ended up dropping to save my legs for CIM. I was smart enough to know that I didn't have enough endurance to finish, even though the finish was not going to be the right time. And then come back 2.5 months later. So Chicago's in October, and CIM is in December. So we always went into the training cycle like I would love to have done it at Chicago so that my family and everyone here could see me do it. But there was a very hot year, and I'm a horrible hot weather runner, and I just kind of knew it wasn't going to work. And so we had planned like, okay, go out and get like a good 13 to 16 in. If it's not your day, then drop. And so that's what we did 2 years in a row, 2010 and 2011. And so went to CIM both of those years trying for it. And I PR'd, both years, but I missed, fell off kind of badly in the second half in 2010 and ended up with like a 2:48. So I was 2 minutes off at the time. The qualifying was 245 or 246. So I ran 245.
So I was going to ask you about that. Does it?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to ask the question. Is it like a specific time, like for the Boston Marathon, for instance, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm going to be 35 next month, and I think the time is like 3:04 or something, like somewhere in and around there. And it doesn't really ever change, like that standard, but they only accept X amount of people who do that cutoff. So even if I run like a 3:05,
it's different than that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So how does it work for the Olympic trials?
It's different for the women and the men's. There's the USATF has two different committees. There's the long distance running committee for women and long distance running committee for men. They disagree on the number of people who should be participating in the Olympic trials, and B, just the philosophy around it. And so the women have an A and a B qualifier. The A qualifier is a faster time, and I don't remember what it was in 12. It was probably like 2:38, 2:40 flat. A qualifier means that if you hit that time, they pay 100% of your expenses to go wherever the trials is. It was Houston. So they'll pay your airfare, they'll pay for your hotel, they'll pay for meals and everything. So you get a stipend. So it's funded. The A is funded. The B is not. So the B is kind of like the all comers. You're slower, but man, you'll pay your way because you just want to be there.
Right. Yeah.
So I was gunning for the B. I was nowhere near the A. The lot of girls were going on the same date for the B. I was happy to pay my airfare there.
Hell yeah.
So the B qualifier at that time was 246.
Well, they're probably thinking too, maybe there is a diamond in the rough in that B, right?
Exactly. Well, and you know what? They always align the standard to the Olympic trial, or the IAAF, the International Athletic Association Federation's cut for the Olympics. So in order, like if I was in some small little country who didn't have a great marathoner and I had citizenship, I could go represent, Turks and Caicos.
I had a buddy who was trying to do that with some
it
island.
Doesn't quite work a lot of times, but you need to legitimately have citizenship. But, I wish I did have citizenship in Turks and Caicos. So I mean, they align that B standard to what the standard is for the IAAF. So if we were in some, it's a good feeling to know that if I was in a country that was like a little underserved with marathoners, that I would be able to run the marathon at the Olympics.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. It's a cool thing to have in your back pocket, right?
I mean, and at the time, Houston, there was like less than 200 ladies to do it. So I mean, it was like you felt, and they treated you so well. It was very elite. You felt elite. They had massage. They had all your meals they actually coordinated your meals. It was really wonderful. Houston did a better job than Atlanta did.
And how many, it's because it's Texas, baby. Texas does it right.
Oh, they just did it up. It was great. It was really fantastic.
I live in Texas. That's why I'm,
There we go. Oh, yeah.
With, when you do the course in a marathon, I should know this and I don't, so I'm embarrassed, but it's outside, I'm assuming. I'm assuming you don't do a track, a million times, right?
No.
So what kind of course is it? Do they make it specifically challenging where there's like hills and stuff, or
I mean, for the trials, they usually do a criterium course, which means it's like a looping course so that it's favorable for fans. So they did in Houston, you kind of just went out on this highway and back on this highway. And then they added a couple of just little turns through the downtown area. Hilton was the major sponsor, and they had the convention center right there. And so it was start and finish right in front of all that.
Cool.
But the loops were like 6 miles each, and then this extra add-on of 2 miles.
Oh, so you were doing the same loop about 4 times.
You did the same loop each time. Yeah. So it's kind of nice because I had, teammates that came out to cheer. And so they were in this area where you were doing this loop, and they could kind of run across and see you in both places.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So it was nice that they were runners. Because it wasn't, it was like maybe 200 meters, and my mom didn't do it.
That's really cool. And then, so you said there were 200 people there, and then how many made the Olympics?
it's so cool to see how much it's progressed since then. So when I qualified for 2012, I was the only person from Illinois, or only woman from Illinois. There was one other man from Illinois to qualify.
That's incredible.
So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I was super proud.
I got chills right there. You just saying that. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was a shock to me that I did it. And then to have those 40 days in between of, kind of the accolade, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't deserve this. But
Imposter syndrome, like we talked about earlier.
Yes. It was like, no, people would say, you're going to the Olympics. And I'm like, no, it's the Olympic trials. Like there's a difference. Like
once you're in this, I'm starting to realize this, once you're in this world and you start going like more and more in like once you're involved in it, you forget how little people actually know about it, like outside of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. I don't know how many times I get asked from coworkers, did you win this? I'm running like the Chicago Marathon and they're like, did you win this? And I'm like, no, like some little Kenyan won it,
right, exactly.
Like I wasn't even close,
I get that all the time with like, I get so frustrated with triathlon because I'm a sprint triathlete. So the course is short and fast and, you don't tell people, I've said this a couple times, but I just like, you don't walk up to Usain Bolt and be like, well, you've never done a marathon, so you're not really a runner. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I get that all the time when I'm like, oh, you do an Ironman? I'm like, no, I do sprint. And they're like, oh, I could do that. It's like, okay, well, you just discourage my hours and hours and hours of a week of just hard work and dedication. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I've started to clip back. I'm like, I'm not trying to be like bitchy or anything, but you get your neighbors, who are like, you run what? Oh, I can beat you in the mile. And I'm like, hey, I'm not a miler anymore. Like I'm like 30 years removed from running the mile. Like, and B, like you're 45-year-old overweight. I don't think so. Like,
you know what it is, honestly? I like it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. I really do think that too many people just don't have like a hobby or anything. Like they just go to a job they don't like and then they go home and they just sit there and watch TV. So then when they see someone who's like a part of their life, like your next door neighbor or whoever you just said is like, they know you. You know what I mean? So that's like, it's hard for people to like put in their head like, well, she lives next door to me, so we're basically like in the same spot in life. How is she so successful? And to make themselves feel better, they're just like, well, I could do that if I tried. You know what I mean?
Right. And I'm like, okay, but I could run a 6:11 mile. I'm like, I ran 26 in a row.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that drives me nuts. It really drives me nuts. So I feel you there.
Yeah. It's usually the men too. Like the women get it. They're like, oh no, there's no way.
Because the men have that machismo thing. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I really do think that there's just something innate in all of us, whether it be you're a man or a woman, but I think particularly in men that, there's like that competitive drive within us. And if you don't like kind of scratch that itch, it just kind of builds up and you become like resentful and you kind of carry that with you internally. And I think it manifests in conversations like that a lot, like I have friends and stuff that like just try to discount, not friends, but like people I know that'll say like backhanded comments and stuff, be like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, so when are you going to do an Ironman? Like, shut up,
Right.
So what, so I know you said, so this was like 2012 and you missed the one.
Yeah. So then, after 2012, that was, it was kind of a one and done. It was a lot to get there. I was happy, surprised. And my husband and I had been married at that point 5-6 years. And I mean, I had wanted to have kids by then already. So we had made the concerted effort, like after that, to start a family. And so that summer we were, even just, we had been working on it, and we actually had some fertility issues. And so we ended up going through fertility that next year. Ended up having my son in 2013, my oldest son in 2013. And then I felt like I had a short period of time to figure out what I wanted to do. My husband was like, you said you're done. You did it. What's more? There's no more to achieve.
That what if, everything. Right? That what if in the back of your head.
And I think being pregnant and going through the fertility stuff where I did not run through my pregnancy at all, because I was like, we spent all this time and money and emotion going through through all that,
Yeah.
that it was like, well, I didn't want to do anything to possibly jeopardize it.
Right.
So I started from a clean, really slow slate after having him. I wanted to claw back, and I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could do it again. And it was hard. It was hard. So I actually ran my PR after having my first a PR at the time, my first son. Wow. Then so I ran 2 marathons before trying for my second son.
Wow.
So I knew that if we were going to do, we did IVF, if we were going to go for my second son and use a frozen cycle, that I was going to miss out on the middle trials, the 2016 trials. But we felt that we wanted the boys close together in age. We didn't really want them 4 years apart.
Yeah, and as he gets older, you got something to hang over his head now, so that'll be good. Yeah,
yeah, I know. No, well, this is how round 2 came about. Is I was like, look, I put this aside in order to have our kids, and so I kind of went after having my second son, Josh. It was like, all right, now is my time.
Yeah.
I gave you 2 boys. You wanted boys like no other. You got 2. And that was my time. And so then I really wanted to go for that, the 2020 trials. I wanted to prove that being a mom and working, and you can still do it, but you need to be hyper focused on your goal. And
I love that. I love that. That's cool.
Yeah. So I even ran faster after having the 2 kids and being older. I felt like being a mom really, there were so many times when in my training, previously without kids, where I would take my rest day on a different day than what was scheduled because I'm tired. I didn't know tired at that point. I thought I knew tired.
There's a difference between tired and absolutely at the brink of complete exhaustion,
and
right?
So it actually helped me a lot in the sense where it was like, well, if I don't get my, track workout in on Tuesday, then I can't get the tempo in on Thursday, which means it screws the whole week up.
Yeah.
So I got to do it. I just got to do it. It gave me, I can see how with people who have kids, it's either you're in at 100% because you have to be, that's it. You're very strict, very regimented, or you're the other way.
You can't be wishy-washy. You can't be like, maybe I'll do it. Yeah, because if you get that seeded doubt in there, no chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how the training went with that. So.
That's really cool. See, I love that idea because in my head, I've said this out loud a couple times, but one of my mantras is like, I want to redefine what it's like to age. I think I was looking at a picture the other day, actually. So my dad passed away in 2016 when he was 52, 53, something like that.
Same with my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, he was, that's young to me. Like it's
super young.
Yeah, that's 18 years from now for me. Like I want more than 18 years left,
Yeah.
And I found a picture of him the other day because it was Father's Day, so I was going through old pictures, and I found a picture of him when he was my age, and he looks like an old man in that picture. And
he's not fit. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to be roasting you, Dad, but
he'll take it. Yeah. He's proud of you. He's
happy we're talking about it. He actually, I'll save the story, but he actually bought me my first tri-bike and then passed away in the 2 months from when he bought my bike to my first race. So,
wow.
How we were talking about, there's a lot of layers to like drive, and that's one layer to it,
Yeah.
But anyway, I was looking at, picture of him, and it just struck me when I was looking at this picture. I'm like, he was my age in this picture, and me and him look like night and day, and I just think there's so many people that, especially like I'm from Buffalo, New York, and there's a lot of people that are just kind of like, well, I'm 25, so this is it now. I'm going to write it out. And like, I couldn't wrap my head around that. If I stayed the same person I was when I was 25, like I'd probably be dead because I was had a job I hated. I was working 9 to 5. I was living for Fridays to just go get hammered, you know what I mean? And then wake up at like 11 on Saturday morning. And it was just this like vicious cycle of me doing nothing, and,
right.
I played football. I played professional football, indoor football. Have you ever heard of the Chicago Blitz? Have you ever heard of them?
Cool.
I was in that league. We played them. Yeah. So
very cool.
we went to Chicago and played them there. But
Awesome.
so that was like kind of, you know, my thing in my 20s. But yeah, I just think about, you know, what you were talking about. I love that resiliency, because if you know, look at for you example, like you take a timeline of your life, and there's, you know, just by this conversation, you know, 3 separate points where you could have quit. You know, you leaving Notre Dame, your first kid, your second kid. You know, like those are 3 points where if you know, let's say, you know, you had 100 people following that same timeline. At the end of those 3 events, you're probably going to have like 10 people left. You know, like those are very
Right.
It's easy. It really is easy to just be like, nah, I'm too busy now. I can't do it. So
Yeah,
like you said, that
yeah.
100% all in kind of concept it takes a special kind of person to really be driven and motivated to do that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I feel lucky that I, you know, had that, I guess, you know.
So that was how long ago now? So you said you were, you know, you were shooting for the 2020.
So then I ran in the 2020 trials, which was last March, which was right before COVID hit. And
yeah, that was like as it was.
It was
a
little messy. Yeah. I think it was like, la la la, I don't hear this because I need to be we need to get on an airplane to get to Atlanta. I didn't have a great race there, but it probably goes down as one of my best races, I would say, because I tore my calf September 3rd, the year before. So in 2019,
like
only
6 months before?
Yes.
Wow.
It was horrible. And it was kind of misdiagnosed at first. The MRI didn't show it. And then I put more damage on it, and it was a tear.
Yikes.
So I kind of had a really short buildup, and kind of, you know, I wasn't completely healthy on race day, and I was definitely undertrained. I had, you know, only like 8 weeks to put in some work. And it showed. It showed, and it was really hard. But I just wanted to finish, and it was the first one that my kids were going to be at, and
cool.
They had made these cute sides. I think I sent you the.
You sent me the picture. Yeah, that's an awesome picture.
And I just, you know, I was proud. I'm a masters runner now, and at the trials I was masters as well. And
can you explain to anyone listening what that means?
Masters is anyone over 40 years old. And it doesn't sound that old, but to be competing at that level, it's actually a pretty big deal. There were, I think, 408 ladies, so almost double what there was when I ran in 2012, who qualified. So it was a huge, huge field. And only, I think it was like 37 were over 40. So it's an accomplishment. It definitely reminded me of, like, my body doesn't feel the same as it does when I was 25. And like, there's a reason these things kind of have happened. I've had some injuries over the last few years. It's like, look, I can't expect the same result, with things. So yeah, I mean, I finished, I ran just under 3 hours, which, obviously slower than my qualifying time, but
still super fast.
You just feeling great about the fact that I was there was definitely a moment where I wasn't even running for real at the turn of the year, and the race was leap day.
That's crazy.
So it was
wild.
Like, can I even toe the line? Should I even toe the line? Should I finish? Should I not finish? Should I just go and run part of it? And so, the time doesn't tell the whole story. The whole story to me is like this story of perseverance and just, not a pride thing, like to post a time that you're not that proud of, but I'm like probably one of the most proud races because of what I had to do to get there. The biking and the, Ultra G running, which is just like gravity.
It's like an artist, or, someone who makes like a, woodworking piece of, something, I don't know what you call it, but like, it's a culmination of months of hard work, and it's something that's your baby, like that's what people don't get, I think, about endurance sports too, is, and it's just like in football, right? Like you train for the season, so you train to just be in like football weight for if you're in the NFL, 16 weeks of your games, right? For endurance sports, it's like you ramp up, and that for a specific day. and then you drop again, and then it's a cyclical type, calendar.
Well, and you get one
live
shot. You don't get 8 races or 8 games.
It's not like you stop. It's not like you run a race, you don't do well, and you're like, you know what? I'll just hit it next week. We'll just
yeah.
That's
I wish I was. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's so. Like, even to know that like you didn't run your best race, but to know the obstacles and adversity that you had to face to get to that point, I think that's. I mean, is that what you're getting at? Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was like not about the time. It was just about being out there, having earned that right to be out there on that course, and just finishing.
Yeah.
Even.
Well, there
not,
was
not a great time, but
that's why, like, and it goes back to like I was talking about, redefining what it is to like get old. I mean, someone I draw a lot of inspiration from is at the last World Championships in Switzerland. I met a guy. He's an American. They had to make an age group for him because he's 82.
Gosh. Wow. Because they have 80 plus, right? Is it 80 plus or 70 plus?
It used to be 70 plus. Now it's like 80 plus. And he is like, and we talked for like a half hour. Like super nice guy. And
you got to get him on there. Have you talked to him on the podcast?
I'm sure he does not have Facebook or Instagram. I have no idea how to get in touch with this guy.
Probably not going to be.
Yeah, I'll just hopefully run into him when he's 83 at the next one. But like you were saying too, I'm 35 or I'm 34, 35 in a month, and I'm starting to think about that Masters stuff, and I want to wreak havoc in that category. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get there and be like, I just want to be like, who is this guy? I'm going to show up as a 40-year-old and just start cranking that stuff out because, like you said, I think there is people aren't, like, when I was a kid, I thought of a 50-year-old guy as just like, you might as well be dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember my mom's 40th, 40 was a big number back then.
Over the hill, right? That was like the over the hill party.
Over the hill.
Yeah, yep.
I turned 40. I was like, okay, good. Now at least I can be with the old ladies racing,
Yeah,
so.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's why I have such an enthusiasm for like the future that I just that's what drew me to the sport in the first place was the idea of being able to compete at this forever. I love that idea. Whether obviously the times will get worse eventually. It's I'm still on that upward tick, but like but even like someone who just want to. I listened to Rogan a lot, and he was talking about someone that just won a marathon. He was like 52, like first overall. Like wow. And he ran at like 2:38 or something like that, like something wild. And it's like, the endurance sports is really geared, for a lot of the older people too. Like you can really hit your stride in your 40s. So I'm really looking forward to getting better at it. So I actually was going to ask you. One of my goals is to qualify for the Boston Marathon at some point. Realistically, probably not this year, but I'm the kind of asshole who's just going to go as hard as I can and just make unrealistic goals so I have something to shoot for, so I fail and then can look back at that. So I'm going to run the Dallas Marathon because it's in December. Yeah, it's like the perfect timing. I live in Dallas, and it's like it's in December, so there's no triathlon at that point, so I'll have a good,
train on the course.
Yeah, exactly. So what would be your advice for like training for I've never run an official marathon. I've run 26 miles before at one time. When I was the training and outreach coordinator for that place that I trained at, I ran the course, unofficially, but like I did the course the day before just so I could show the people and like, hey, I did it. Now you go out and do it.
You could do it. Yeah.
But what would be advice that, from someone who's as talented as you about like training for a marathon? Are there any specific, things that you do or, things to pay attention to as you train?
I think you just have to put in the work. A lot of it is, the key is in the long run. And then, I find that the tempo run, if you're trying to do, a certain goal and your goal is aggressive, like getting Boston is a big goal. You should be having, some speed work, obviously, in your training. And I think tempo work, where you're doing kind of those sustained, harder efforts at lactate thresholds, that's going to be one of those keys to success, as well as just getting all your long runs in. If you've never really done one, then it just depends on how comfortable you feel with the distance and how many 20s you think you should do, possibly a 22. But that
was a question I had. There's a lot of people that, I mean, there's just so many different schools of thought, and you have, do you have a preference between like heart rate training and,
I'm so old school. I don't do heart rate because, unless you're constantly checking, like rechecking your max, hopefully you're evolving in your fitness. And so you can't be going by 2 months ago's max rate for, you got to constantly be checking. And then, I don't know, it's just too much. It's too much work. Like I go by perceived effort. So this is my perceived effort for what I would imagine a marathon pace would be. And oftentimes it would be based on time goals, that if you need to run 304, that's right around it's, 7-minute pace about.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would focus on 7-minute pace for your, marathon type work. But no, I kind of I like to go by hard paces and obviously make adjustments for weather, or crazy, not conditions or, courses, if you're hilly or,
right.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like people who are like, oh, we need to slow down. I'm feeling okay, but I need to slow down because my heart rate's, it's like, no, like you sound okay. Like you got to push yourself, like
I've never paid attention to my heart rate.
I don't get it. Yeah. I get it. If you're wearing like my husband wears the Whoop, and
mm-hmm.
he can tell based off of how he's sleeping and his temperature or whatever, or, his heart rate that he's going to be sick, and it's been fairly accurate, that it's coming, but I don't use it for training because I just feel like it's a difficult marker. And if you're actually achieving, increased fitness, it's not all that accurate if you're not rechecking it.
Right. Well, it's funny. I use, I go to F45.
I do too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I love it there.
Yeah.
So they actually,
I don't go as hard as you. I know. I use it as my second workout.
Well, I was going to say that actually kills two birds with one stone. So I was going to ask if you do any type of like weight training or anything like that. So that answers that question.
Yeah, but I probably do it way different than you do. They think I'm the lazy one in the class. Like fortunately the instructor knows kind of my backstory. So he'll give me a little ribbing, but like, I usually go there after my run. So I've gotten, 8 or 10 in or 6, whatever my miles are for the day. And then I'm doing that as like a supplement. So when there's like the kind of cardio stuff, I'm kind of slack on it.
Gotcha.
I'm there just to try to get, my lunge work in and, kind of strength work just to keep the injuries at bay.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's just two, from my experience at least, me coming from the background that I have with football and, I was a football player, baseball player. So
you always had strength. Yeah.
Yeah. And I came, I transitioned to the endurance world in my late 20s, and there's just so many people who just like, even my buddy, he won the national championship for aquathlon in the, for his age group, which is an incredible feat, right?
Wow.
And he's like, and he even is like, he was on my show. He's episode 2, I think. But he's like, yeah, man, when I'm doing my plan, like, if I'm going to skip a day, I'm going to skip, like, the weight training. You know what I mean? And there's just so much of that in the endurance world. I'm like, I don't think you understand, like, how important that is. Like, that's a big piece of the pie that, it makes you a complete athlete, But
right. Well, and it keeps the injuries at bay. I feel like I was able to get away with it with not focusing on what I call the extras. At a younger age, I was able to just be fortunate enough where I didn't have injuries, I didn't have setbacks, and I basically just ran. Mm-hmm. I core maybe once or twice, a month. So now I feel like, woo, this body is not the way it used to be. And I was just kind of digging for ways to, kind of keep things healthy. And a friend of mine introduced me to the F45, and so that's
I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it. For years, I've been, I'm a meathead. I've been going to the gym, and I go bench press or deadlift or do all that kind of shit. And I'm like, why? Like, it doesn't make sense for me to be doing that anymore. And one of my best friends, he got drafted by the Diamondbacks. And
Okay.
not like, yeah, I met him after his baseball career, but I always thought of F45 as the kind of gym where it's like, oh, that's for, like, you know, people who don't know how to work out, or, you know, I just kind of looked down on it, to be honest with you. And then the first time I gave it a real consideration was when, you know, this guy who's an elite athlete, I mean, this guy was one of the best baseball players in the country in college at Hofstra, got drafted by the Diamondbacks, had a professional career. He's going to F45 and ranting and raving about it. So I'm like,
I got you.
yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm rethinking it. And then I went and just immediately got hooked because it's autopilot. It's all set up for you.
Yeah.
It's competitive.
I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about how many sets I'm doing, if I'm doing enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's perfect.
Exactly. People are probably so sick.
Setting.
People are so sick of hearing me talking about it because
okay.
I'm the kind of person who I get attached to something and I just don't shut up about it, you know? So
yeah, well, it's good stuff. I mean, it's definitely really good functional movement. That's their whole thing, right? That does help you, you know, kind of stay stable and strong, you know.
It's funny because me and you do it exact opposite too. I go to the 6 a.m. class, I grind it out, and then I come home. I'm home by like 7:15, and then I'll hit my run, or then I'll hit my you know, bike or whatever I got.
You know what? I did that the other day. I switched it up just because I was meeting with someone different. I went to the early class, and then I ran after, and I actually felt better the next day. So there's something to that. It's probably a better balance. Yeah.
I like it because you just keep that momentum. You know, you get all fired up. This is a lot of difference between me and a lot of other people too. Is like in the world of football and like weightlifting and all that stuff. A lot of people take pre-workout supplements like Pump Fuel and NO Explode and that kind of stuff. So I take Pump Fuel before I go to F45 every morning. So it doesn't wear off in 45 minutes. So like, I walk in there and I'm like all jacked up, and then I do the workout, and then I leave there like even more jacked up.
Like,
so
I want to run.
Yeah, so I come home and like have to tucker myself out before I like work. You know what I mean? Otherwise I'd just be screaming at people on the phone. But the other thing I was going to ask you, do you know Amanda Gent?
I know the name. Yeah. She's one of our on athletes.
Yeah. So I had her on the show a couple weeks ago, maybe like a month ago. She does something called Elliptigo. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah. There's a couple people. I have a friend who has one. Yeah.
Do you really? All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to go try one out tomorrow because this intrigues me.
Oh, very cool. You got to take some video.
I will. I'm definitely going to because it's funny how it all worked out because I'm doing a triathlon. I have a race on Sunday. So the packet pickup is at the bike mart where they sell Ellipticos like around the corner from me. And I just haven't gone, you know, and so now it's forcing me to go, so I'm definitely going to try it out. And I
hope you like it. I haven't tried it. This friend bought one because she was constantly injured.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of
they're
got me
supposed
hooked?
to be great.
You know what got me hooked is not hooked. I mean, really interested is because they. You know, now that I've know about it, I follow them on all their social media platforms and stuff, and I'm a part of the Elliptical group on Facebook, which is super active, so I had to turn notifications off. But there's a lot of Olympic athletes that use it, legit athletes.
Yeah. Well, I think now I'm going to blank on her name. There's an Illinois athlete who I want to know her, Tara Moody. Tara Moody was fourth in she's younger than me. I think she's the record holder in the Elliptigo. She's from Illinois here.
Yeah,
she's a former marathoner.
So she's probably okay. Yeah, Amanda talked about her because they have the World Championships for the Elliptigo in California. You just go straight up a mountain. And,
right.
Yeah.
I think she won the whole thing. Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
So it checks off all these boxes for me.
See, you might be able to start to compete at that level because you have that kind of strength.
That's what I want to do. I'm nuts. I'm super competitive. Is I don't know if it's an Achilles heel. It's it's good and bad. But that's why I like F45 because it's competitive working out every day, and with the Elliptico, it's just a skill that kind of fits in this whole world. You know what I mean?
You could probably be pretty good at it.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like I'm gonna go bow hunting or something like that where it's just a completely different hobby. You know what I mean? It just kind of it fits into this whole thing. That's why I did the Spartan Race the other day, and that kind of fits in this whole thing too. F45 is basically training you to do a Spartan race, so.
Right. Be really athletic.
Yeah. So that's what I meant. But okay, so I was going to ask you, what's next? What do you have on the horizon?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of in between. Given I'm now 42, my kids are a little older now. They're 5 and 8 and busy, starting to do their own activities. And I'm like a school bus here, carting them around places now that COVID's over and we could be in activities.
Yep.
It's challenging. It's more challenging than when they were little, to be honest, because when they were little, it's like, well, I know they're going to nap in the afternoon, so Mama can nap too, and now they don't. And it's just a little bit more of a juggle. I have a little bit of a taste to maybe go for the next one. It's going to be much harder. I'm going to be much older. I still have some nagging issues from the calf tear.
Okay.
And I've just been working on just the strength and kind of getting healthy, just slowly starting to get some speed work back. But I don't know. Next stage is just to kind of figure out if I think that I could try for it again, if I have the desire to try for it again. They haven't even had the Olympics yet. They haven't released the next set of times. And they won't either until the end of end of this year. They might even push that back just based off the fact that the Olympics hasn't happened yet. So I don't know. If the time goal is something that I've already run, then that's kind of a carrot, like, oh, you've already done this, maybe you could do it again.
Yeah.
But if it's so aggressive, I mean, I think I'm just sticking to enjoying a post-competitive life and keep going with kind of just my general fitness goals. But yeah, I'm kind of in this in-between mode right now where I'm a little bit, I'm still very active, still running all the time, enjoying, but no real set goals for this year. No marathon this year.
Well, now, if you don't do that, you're going to have to do the whole F45 then. You don't have no excuse,
I know. I should be in there more than, 2-3 times a week. Yeah. So what's next for you? Are you, do you have anything on the calendar for the next few weeks?
Yeah, I tell you, man, I'm nuts. So I just keep adding these things, like I did the Spartan Race kind of on a whim a couple weeks ago, last Saturday, because it was at Cowboy Stadium, and I'm like, holy shit, this is really cool, and the reason I got into F45 was my buddy, they had the baseball player, they had an open, they did it at a field over here. And it was a free, you could just go experience what it's like, and then I won a free month. So
awesome. So then you were like, now I'm hooked.
Yeah, it's not cheap either, so I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of this. So me and my buddy went every morning. He made me go to the 5 a.m. classes. I'm like, it's a little aggressive for me, because I'm kind of a night owl, so I stay up till 11. He's like, dude, just go to bed at 8:30. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, I did that for a month, and when I saw the timing of the Spartan Race at the end of my month trial, I was like, well, if I'm training for stuff like that, I might as well just do it.
Try it. Yeah.
And it was just a really cool experience, and I actually did pretty well. I did the rope climb, which I didn't think I'd be able to do. I'd never done that before. And so anyway, I am starting to look at obstacle course racing type stuff.
Oh, very cool.
But I'm super competitive, like I said, so I like the racing aspect. I don't want to just do a tough Mudder.
The open ones. Yeah,
that's not me. So there's a thing called High Rocks. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before.
No.
It's really cool. It's really interesting. It's basically the same concept as CrossFit, I guess, but it's a course, which I guess CrossFit is too, but it's very similar. But there's sled pulls, there's farmer carries, there's the row machine, there's all that stuff. And they're having one at Dallas here in August, so that's August 14th. So I'm doing a triathlon on Sunday. It's just a local sprint, kind of practice some stuff. Get ready for the national championship is the first week of August.
Okay. So wow, that's quick.
Yeah, because it was the last national championship in May. That was for last year. So because it got canceled, so
yeah.
So that was to qualify for Bermuda, which is in October, but then the first week of August is to qualify for Abu Dhabi next year,
Oh, okay. You got to do that. Yeah.
And that's what me and my fiance love about this sport too, is that like it gives us excuses to go to places that I wouldn't just be like, we should go to Abu Dhabi. So that's
awesome.
Yeah, so that's August, and then so the next week is then that Spartan Race, and then I'm putting together this event which I'm really excited for. Being from Buffalo, we're huge. I mean, I got the Bills hat on.
Yes.
Huge Bills fan, and I'm doing an event where I'm calling it the Stampede to the Stadium.
Okay.
I did it a couple years ago, but that's when I lived in Buffalo. So then they kind of died then. But I'm reinventing it, where you run. So I used to live in what's called North Buffalo. It's a neighborhood, obviously north of Buffalo, and it's 14 miles from that point in North Buffalo to the stadium, and it's literally like one street, you turn, and another street, and it takes you right to the stadium.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm planning this whole event where I'm going to do it for charity, and I want like the running community to meet in this parking lot, and it's just take as much time as you want, take as, it goes fast or as little, and we'll have points along the way where we'll have like, if you only want to run a 10K, meet here, and then pick us up when the crowd. So my vision for this is just like this long line of people, running to the Bills game. Then we'll all meet at one of the parking lots and tailgate and everything.
Right, tailgate there.
Yeah. So that's a big event I got coming up, and I'm doing on the 4th of July. I'm doing this thing called the. I named it something ridiculous. I forgot what I named it. It's like the Go4TheGoldy 4th of July, Laps for Liberty, Live Extravaganza, or something like that. But I live in downtown Frisco Square, so it's literally like a town square, and one lap is a third of a mile. So I'm going to live stream on the 4th of July in the morning and do 51 laps around the square. And I'll have because it's 17.76 miles. So for 17, yeah. So, for you, that's nothing. But for me, I'm not.
No, that's a lot.
I haven't run 17 miles in a long time. So.
Well, that's your first training run for your.
There you go. Yeah.
Your long run.
So that'll be fun. I'm going to have some people hanging out, kind of, managing the live stream. I'm going to have a counter. So every time I do a lap, my friend or whatever will, flip it over. Yeah, just a fun little. I like doing that kind of stuff. I did that 4x4 by 48 challenge a while ago in March.
Yeah.
So I like doing that kind of stuff. It's just. I like pushing myself, and it goes back to like what we were talking about earlier. I like the idea of pushing myself to limits that I didn't think were possible live, like in front of people, because I think that vulnerability and the chance that I fail, is like, it makes you really, it puts a lot of pressure on me because I don't want to fail if people are watching, and at the same time, I think it inspires others to be like, whoa, if he didn't, wasn't ready for this and he did that, what else could he do? What could I do?
Right.
And that's kind of the whole,
yeah,
thing.
It's completely. So. That's amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of fun stuff. And I'm getting married October 1st, so,
Oh, God, you got so much going on.
I got so much
going on. Congratulations.
Yeah, but that's the way I want it to be. I can't sit still. My mind's always going.
I can tell that.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that through Zoom you could tell that I can't, because even my hands, look at it.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of balls in the air, so it's good.
I do, and I actually, ironically, was teaching myself to juggle too. So that's I'm all.
You need another hobby.
And exactly, I taught myself the Rubik's Cube a couple months ago, and I play a lot of video games. I stream that too, so it just. I have no kids, so I am a kid. So there you go.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're at about an hour and 10 minutes. So
yeah, well, thank you.
I'm going to ask you, like I ask every person that I have on the show, is there anything we didn't cover? Like I said, this is off the cuff. No prepared questions except for the one in the beginning. But, is there anything that you want to put out into the ethos or any last bits of advice, or the floor is yours?
No, I love kind of giving a little bit of my backstory because I'm proud of it, and I feel like it's definitely something that I don't talk about often with people, especially people that you meet. They know you might be a marathoner, but I don't. You don't lead with, well, I'm a pretty good one.
Right. Yep.
And the community that understands marathoning, or at least, higher level athletics. It's kind of a good story to hear, to go from 348 to 242, over the course of a long period of time, over 12 years. And yeah, I like to share that. And I hope that my boys can see kind of, the sacrifices I made to get to what I've achieved, and hope that, other people can kind of take just a piece of inspiration of it, and kind of go their way and do their own thing and follow their own dreams.
I love that. It's a great way to phrase that. And I think your story is very inspirational. And I think, what I'm trying to do here, you were the perfect guest to have. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Last thing I was going to ask you, for everybody, I like to put any social media, website, anything that's relevant to our conversation, or how people could follow you in the notes. So do you have, how can people follow you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm old, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm literally just on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not that active. You see my on posts because we kind of are encouraged to do so.
Right.
And then I have pictures of my kids.
Oh, the other question, actually, you brought up a good point. You're sponsored by Rabbit.
Yes. Okay. So I run for Rabbit.
Yeah.
And so Rabbit is a wonderful woman-owned running clothing company. They have really high performance, great technology. And I love that I actually met both of the owners, became acquainted with the brand because I literally saw ladies running in it in California, and I was like, their kid is sick. Like, I want to be part of that. So reached out to them a number of years ago, and I've been running for them. I think this is my third year running for them. So running with Rabbit, and then I've been with On. This is my fifth year. Yeah. So that's been awesome to kind of see the progression of both brands, because both of them are pretty new brands.
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually something that I always find interesting too. How did you come across On? Like, what brought you to the brand?
I have a good friend who owns a running store, and so I actually happened to be. I was with Saucony as a sponsored athlete for 8 years.
Okay. And
then they eliminated the program, the sub-elite program I was with, the budget cuts. And so I was kind of on the hunt for shoes.
Yeah.
I got used to kind of free stuff, and felt like I still had a decent resume to try some new stuff. Wasn't all that loyal. Felt like I could, get away with trying other brands. And I just happened to be in the store helping her out when one of the On tech reps was there, and he was going for the trials as well. And so he took to me right away and was like, "Oh my God, we got to get you on. We got to get you into this."
That's
and
so cool.
Yeah. So it was literally, the timing couldn't have been more perfect. It was amongst the, the window of where they were looking for people. He's like, "Really, it's closing on Friday, so send me your stuff." And so that was, and that tech rep is no longer with the company, but it was like just kind of a chance meeting. And I always love those kind of like happenstance circumstances where I feel like that was meant to be.
Divine intervention. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how my good friend owns Peak Running. She has 3 stores here in Illinois, and 1 store that she's opening up in Breckenridge, Colorado. So
wow,
she's kind of a big player around here, and came to On because of her. That's
really cool. And with the Rabbit, do you have any links or anything like that?
So it should be posted on my Instagram and Facebook kind of profile. It's just running Rabbit is the hashtag, and but nothing beyond that.
What I'll do is I'll pluck it from your profile, and then I'll put it in the notes of the show. So
okay,
awesome. Well, again, thanks for your time. It was really nice to meet you in person, and if you get at it, try to get back. I mean, we're all pulling for you. You have more of an audience now, so, more support.
Okay. Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing about all your races. Now I'm going to be hot on chasing you. So.
Well, thank you. Iron sharpens iron. That's right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. And Kate,